Hello, friends. Welcome to Jenkins's hero tier list for the offlaners in patch 7.23c. I'm going to try to do this really fast as to not waste your valuable time as I'm stalling in the intro. Anyway, scrolling up epically, I will reveal the D tier and dogshit tier heroes. Okay, dogshit tier. Necrophos. I was actually spamming this hero prior to TI, and I was like, man, this hero is the shit. He's going to be picked at TI. He's going to win every game. He's going to be super powerful. He didn't have a chance to be powerful because he didn't get picked at all at TI. And I think there's a pretty good reason for that. Primal Beast, Leshrac are two of the top heroes in TI. They completely decimate Leshrac. You press Ghost Shroud, and those heroes shred him. They do more damage to him because of the Ghost Shroud, so not so good. Bristleback, I think this hero is actually a very strong carry with the Aghanim Scepter build, and then late game, you right-click incredibly hard with the Warpath stacks that you have. It's basically rapier damage, but that's not a offlaner playstyle. That's a carry playstyle. So these heroes are dogshit tier. They're 40% win rate on Dota 2 Pro Tracker. Probably don't pick them unless you're just trying to have a fun time. And if you're trying to have a fun time picking Necrophos or Bristleback, fuck you. All right, D tier. We have Pudge, Batrider, Dragonite. I don't know why I'm listing them off, so I'm just going to start with Pudge. Pudge, the Aghanim Scepter build, the power spike is so strong that you can even beat hard counters. Like, this is one of the strongest power spikes in the game, but that's a carry build. Pudge is like an A or S tier carry. D tier offlaner. If you do that as an offlane, you're going to soak farm from your team and probably feed the lane, yada yada. It's not that good. Batrider, probably a better mid than anything right now. He is like a last pick mid. He needs Boots of Travel. He needs BKB. He needs a lot of levels. His laning sucks ass. So just not that strong of an offlaner. Dragonite. This hero has not really recovered since the Fireball and his stun nerfs. Also, people are not really building Blink Dagger first on any offlaners right now. Axe falls victim to the same issue, even though he's been getting buffs for quite some time now, and Crimson Guard has been buffed, and Axe is required to build a Vanguard in every game. That's just not a build that anybody's doing on any hero right now, so Axe is a little bit weak, but I expect him to be strong eventually. Spirit Breaker, I just put this hero in here so I could ask if anybody knows how planar rocket works, please DM me, and I will tell all the professional players as well, because I don't think they know either. In reality, this hero is just not recovered from the nerfs to the mana cost on his charge, and the Soul Ring subsequent nerf that came where it costs a lot more money. Soul Ring charge is how people were going around the map and farming, and that's just not a build, and it doesn't feel like there is any build that works on him right now in the offlane. OD, people are actually picking this hero right now, but they're picking it as a mid. They're going for Aghanim Scepter. They're chain imprisoning teammates and just being insanely toxic. It's very annoying. It's decently strong, but if you do that from the offlane, you are going to grief your team. You're going to be totally useless until you get the Ags, and you probably won't get the Ags because this hero does not farm very quickly. Razor, this hero has not felt good since they nerfed his move speed on the passive. You used to be able to get boots, Windlace, you get the passive, level 1, you'd be like 400 move speed, dominating the lane with Static Link, even level 1 in that ability. Now Static Link has been nerfed, the passive has been nerfed, he's just not the lane dominator that he once was, and that's a big reason why people picked him. As I scroll up and reveal the C tier heroes, these heroes are actually decent. I would say for D tier, if you want to win, probably don't pick them. If you're an absolute specialist with these heroes, okay, go for it. But C tier are, if the game is good for them, then even if you're not a specialist, they're probably worth picking. Like, these are getting to the decent heroes. Okay, Dawnbreaker is actually good. In a vacuum, she's good. I say that Darkseer's 4 heroes to the right, so we'll talk about vacuum in a second, but she's countered by 2 very popular heroes in the meta, which are Silencer and Nyx Assassin. So it feels bad to pick Dawnbreaker because the playstyle is to sit in the safe lane and ult into fights, and you can't really do that against a lot of the popular meta heroes. But she is a Wraith Pact buyer, she is a pipe buyer, and that's most of the offlane meta right now. Nature's Prophet, also a pipe builder, also a Wraith Pact builder, but if you're having a really good game, and you can because he lanes very well, not only does he have the best stat gains in the game and amazing BAT, which just got buffed, but he can build into Witchblade, which is a strong item, Mage Slayer, which is a very strong item, and there's a lot of builds that work on this hero. So even though rest in peace to the Greater Treants, those were amazing, and the new Shard is not as good, still Nature's Prophet is a decent hero just because of these other things. Legion Commander, she's one of the few decent Blink Rush heroes. She's not that great at building a Wraith Pact. She's okay. She's also okay at building a pipe, but they have buffed this hero majorly over the last couple of patches. They gave her extra cast range on her duel, which is something that she desperately needed. She has a dual damage bonus talent at level 10, which is very strong. It means you can snowball a lot harder, but the build that people do on her, that's the normal build, is just not a build people do in the offlane. Offlaners are not these like blink initiators right now. It's a lot of zoo heroes, a lot of Wraith Pact type heroes. Darkseer, I believe they've given him a few buffs to the damage on his level 1 Ion Shell, which he desperately needed. They've buffed Surge. They've buffed a lot of different things about this hero, but it still feels like a bit of a weak laner. It still feels like you have to be against the right carry. Like if you're against a, Terrorblade, Naga Siren, like these heroes, it's pretty good against illusion heroes. If you're a Darkseer specialist, you can play Darkseer on this patch, but it's nothing super special right now. Underlord, I think that his ultimate is one of the least correctly utilized things in all of Dota. It's almost impossible to use in a effective way in pubs, but this hero is incredibly high win rate against zoo heroes, which I think makes him decent. People are building a lot of force staffs, so like the Atos and pitting people and perma-rooting them thing is not really a thing, but he's a good Wraith Pact buyer. He's a good pipe buyer. He could actually be higher than C tier. It's just that people don't pick him in pubs, and maybe that's because he's boring. Alchemist, offlane, was a lot stronger before the offlane meta was just build a Wraith Pact, build a pipe, run at people. If you want to play greedy in the offlane, which you can get away with in a lot of pubs, Alchemist was previously like A tier without being touched at all in terms of nerfs or buffs, because you would just farm a Radiance and you would basically play a carry from the offlane, and you could still do that. It's just that's not the meta right now. Centaur, this hero is kind of a meme. The cart it's fucking bad. It's not good. But the stun duration on his Q has been buffed. He needed that desperately. This was not a 1-point wonder before, and this hero, you wanted to level all of his abilities, but now you can leave a stun at level 1, max out double edge if you want damage, max out his passive if you want to farm and be tanky. He's all right. He's okay. Biggest issue that he has is his stun is really obvious and easy to dodge. And, he builds Vanguard, which is not that popular right now, but he's okay. Venomancer, good Wraith Pact buyer, good pipe buyer. I feel like there's just a lot of heroes that are fairly decent against him right now. Morphling, for example, is a popular carry, and he will shit all over a Venomancer. There's a lot of healing. There's a lot of damage mitigation that's really popular. Venom's good at buying pipe, but also he's countered by it. So, yeah, that's not so good for him. Doom, this hero is a lot like Alchemist in the sense that it's like a greedy style offlaner. I still see people going for the like drums BKB build. It's not really Wraith Pact pipe run at you. It's kind of like if you have assessed that for whatever reason you want to be greedy, or you feel like the game is going to allow you to be greedy because, like, I don't know, the enemy team has some like crazy fucking do nothing draft. You can pick a Doom, you can pick an Alk, and you can just farm and out farm them, and it's pretty solid right now. Okay, now we're getting to the B tier. These are good heroes. To be totally real with you, the S and A tier offlaners are so good, and there's so many of them, that you can probably pick one of them in almost any game, and I don't see why you wouldn't, other than boredom. If you're really bored, you can pick some of these B tier heroes. And then also, if you're counter picking, like if you see a Faceless Void, you can pick like a Viper, for example, against a Faceless Void and destroy it in lane. If you see a bunch of like strength heroes, you can pick a Timbersaw. But other than that, I would probably stick to the A and S tier heroes. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So Pangolier is one of the best heroes in Dota. He's an S tier hero in general. And so when I rank him for the offlane, I think he's a bit of a weak laner. But he's so strong of a hero in general that I think it's worth picking the hero anyway. It's a specialty thing, though. Like if you're a specialty Pango player, you can play it in the offlane right now. Timber, not a Wraith Pact buyer. Not a pipe buyer either, really. But like I said, if there's a lot of strength heroes, if there's just nothing to punish Timber in the early game, you can play Timber. It's definitely strong. It's weak against like Leshrac. It's weak against Bat. But usually, if there's just one of those heroes that counters you, you can deal with it currently. Undying, this is a very strong laner. It's almost impossible, just getting a bunch of mangoes, to lose the lane because of how decay works now, where you don't lose the HP when the decay buff wears off, and the enemies do lose HP when the decay buff wears off. Like, it's so easy to lane with this hero. I love getting a Wraith Pact on Undying too, which obviously is the best offlane item, as I've said 1,000 times. He can protect the Wraith Pact. That's what's important, is that you run in to kill the Wraith Pact, and then all of a sudden he drops a tombstone, he pops ult, he hits you once, you're slowed to a crawl, there's a bunch of zombies on you. You absolutely destroy anybody who comes in to kill the Wraith Pact. And that's what I really like Wraith Pact on, is heroes that can actually protect it by just being insanely toxic in the area around the Wraith Pact. Death Prophet is also not really a hero that builds into Wraith Pact. She can build pipe. I would say if you have a Death Prophet, you probably want one of your other heroes to build a Wraith Pact. And if that's not happening, then you can probably still get it on her, because you absolutely need one in a game of Dota right now. However, with that being said, she is one of the strongest laners in Dota because of her Spirit Siphon doing raw damage instead of percentage damage, and then I got buffed to do even more raw damage. So at a certain point, Death Prophet kicks almost any hero out of lane, and then she's also a hero that has overwhelming magic and physical damage and tower damage, and she's hard to kill. The other build that's kind of popular on the offlane on non-Wraith Pact heroes is BKB first. You can also do that on Death Prophet. You can just go phase boots, BKB, and she's strong. Viper, this hero is another non-Wraith Pact buyer, but he is a Dragonlance. You crush people out of lane, you farm a bunch, you take an area by yourself, and then you farm a BKB. So it's kind of like BKB Rush. It's like one small item into BKB, and then you are just this presence for your team to like group up around and take towers. And it's very strong in lane against a lot of carries. You pick it against a Sven, you pick it against a Faceless Void, you just slow them to a crawl, damage over time them, and beat the shit out of them in lane. Mars, even though he's seen a billion nerfs, spear nerfs, rebuke nerfs, ulti nerfs, everything, it just seems like this hero will not leave the meta. I don't know what it is. He's just always popular. The fact that you drop an ult, you spear somebody, like they're almost always guaranteed to die. It's one of the most disruptive ults in the game. It's really good at countering ranged carries, which there's a decent amount of being picked right now. You pick it against a Drow Ranger, you pick it against a Sniper. You can turn, face them, put your shield out, soak their projectiles, pop your ult, soak their projectiles. And I'd say that element of Mars is honestly better than the spear comboing people because you hard counter some of the most toxic carries in the game. That is the Sniper and the Drow. Slardar, he's been getting a lot of buffs. He's not a great Wraith Pact buyer. You probably could get away with going like Blink Dagger, Wraith Pact, maybe, depending on the game. But most people on Slardar go for Mask of Madness. That's the first item. You farm with it, and then you farm the Blink Dagger, you farm the BKB. And the biggest thing about him is that he spawns a lot of puddles now. His ult spawns puddles, his stun spawns puddles, and you move faster and have regen in those puddles. So it's like they've taken the river buffs and the water in the river, and now the water is just kind of everywhere. So I actually thought Slardar was going to be S tier in this patch. But I think only because of the prevalence of Wraith Pact, he's not S tier. He has S for Slardar, though. So anyway, Sand King, speaking of S, Burrow Strike level 1 actually has range now. That's pretty crazy because that's never really been a thing in Dota. It's a Blink Dagger rushing hero. I would say probably the best Blink Dagger rushing hero, but he can build a pipe. He can build a Wraith Pact. It's just that you want the Blink first. And after that, Sand King has always been this hero that kind of just builds whatever his team needs. So I feel like the Wraith Pact thing actually makes sense on him. It's not like Slardar or Mars where it feels a little weird and you want a BKB. Sand King, you don't really need a BKB because you're just sitting in your Sandstorm protected anyway. So you can't actually get a Wraith Pact to protect your team. Okay, now we move on to the A tier heroes that are very good. That's what A stands for. That's the A in very. Okay, Night Stalker. This is the best support killer in the game, arguably. Not so much of a Wraith Pact guy. You can build Mage Slayer because you go Echo Saber into BKB, which when you disassemble, you make the Oblivion Staff into a Mage Slayer. Mage Slayer is the item that Tundra used to counter Leshrac and win TI. So there is that build that works on him. I feel like in the current patch, there's not a lot of backline jumpers. There's not a lot of Storm Spirit type like assassin heroes. And Night Stalker is like the offlaner for doing that if you need it. So Night Stalker is fairly strong. Marcy is just an amazing hero in general. Arguably, you could possibly say she's the best hero in the game. I think she was like top 5 most picked heroes at TI, most contested. And there's good reason for that. She has a stun. She has 2 stuns, technically. She has a damage buff, a lifesteal buff. Her ult makes her scale incredibly well. Yeah, Marcy is just insane. And so in the offlane, she gets to be A tier just because the hero in general is so fucking strong. She's another BKB rush hero. Lycan is... It's insane the amount of damage reduction between Howl, especially because it's global now, and the Wraith Pact will give you. Not that people even build Wraith Pact on Lycan. Most of the time, the Wraith Pact will be built on somebody else, and then Lycan goes for the Helm Dom too. But any Vlad's builder, even if it's not building into a Wraith Pact, is good right now because of the fact that Vlad's gives double lifesteal when you hit heroes. That's always really strong. It's a zoo hero. Everybody's running at towers and controlling areas with these zoo heroes in the offlane. Lycan obviously is very good at doing that. Lycan is really good at running at backliners, like I said. So a hero like Beastmaster is better at controlling an area, probably better at laning, probably a little bit better at scaling in terms of at least the utility that he provides for his team. But Lycan will run at something like an Oracle and just completely fuck the Oracle or Dazzle or Rubik and disrupt the backlines. Beastmaster, best Wraith Pact buyer in the game, arguably, maybe other than like Visage or something. He's been strong since people started going Axes or Boar in the lane. It's like it just depends on what the enemy team has. If they pick CM and they're countering your Boar, you just spam Axes. If they pick Faceless Void and they're countering your Axe spam, you go Boar and you fuck him in lane. It's like, it feels like there are so many builds on Beastmaster that even though he's been nerfed quite a lot, like his birds got changed so they don't stun, they root, which is pretty bad, but still, he's insanely strong because he's just the best Wraith Pact buyer in the game, and he always has a good game because his lane is always good. Tidehunter, another hero that is very strong at protecting Wraith Pact. They run in to kill it, they group up to kill it, you ravage them. Simple as that. Damage reduction on top of his damage block, on top of pipe, on top of... It's all about, in Dota, stacking these auras, stacking these reductions, and Tidehunter innately has those, and he loves doing that anyway. Brewmaster, he is very good at protecting the Wraith Pact because one of the best combos in Dota is Puck plus Brewmaster, because Puck anchors the fight with Coil, and Brewmaster will just kill anybody who's just standing in one place because the ult is insane. And Wraith Pact, it kind of anchors the fight in a way because it's either like you run away from the Brew and he takes your towers because he does extra damage to towers with his Earth Panda, or you turn around and you try to kill the Wraith Pact and then he kills you because you're killing the Wraith Pact and his pandas are just sitting there hitting you. It's a conundrum. Like, he builds these items to like 5-man and group up and take towers, but then you can't 5-man and fight him because the ult is just really hard to fight into. And it gets even harder when you get the Aghanim Scepter and you get the little pandaling that's running around all the time with you. And he starts feeling like an actual zoo hero, which is the meta. So, yeah, that's great for Brewmaster players everywhere. All right, now we're talking about the S tier. The best offlaners in all of Dota. Hello to the people that skip to the end to avoid my inane rambling. The S tier heroes are Enigma, Leshrac, Primal Beast, Broodmother, and Visage. So Enigma, still, Black Hole late game is just no contest. Nothing beats it. People have tried Silencer against him because it's the hardest counter in the game. And still, you just pick up a Wraith Pact and run your Eidolons at people. And what does Silencer do to a 5-man army of minions that are ultra powerful and piped as well? And it's like, because there are these 2 builds you can do on Enigma, where you're just all-inning on the Black Hole or you're going for summons, It's like, and the Aghanim Shroud on Enigma, by the way, really helps for this. The fact that you spawn additional Eidolons on your stun, and you can play from distance. You're not playing around the black hole anymore. It's like, go ahead, counter my black hole. I don't give a shit. Leshrac, Bloodstone. This hero should just be renamed to Bloodstone. And it's so good that the build for offlane is just Bloodstone. It's the exact same thing as mid. You go Null Talisman, and then Mana Boots, and then every Bloodstone component, and it's like, the offlaner's rushing a greedy item. Surely they're killable. No, because the components that build into Bloodstone also make Leshrac incredibly tanky and able to 5-man and incredibly toxic. So no, you can't deal with him because he's building this greedy item that makes him a god. Leshrac is probably the best hero in Dota currently. I really do feel that. And the counter to it that Tundra did at TI is something that is only easy to do if you're a 5-man team. It's not happening in pubs. The hero's win rate is 57%. It's fucking insane. Primal Beast, good in every role, probably even a good carry. Let's be real. Trample does a lot of damage. His ult does a lot of damage. His Q does like 480 damage or something like that once you get the talent. It's nuts. And he scales incredibly well too. His ult becomes BKB piercing at a point. Even if you don't go for that talent for some reason, you go for the other one, your spells are so low cooldown that you take a fight, you force BKB, you have them up in like 10 seconds or 15 seconds after that. It's nuts. So yeah, Primal Beast, very powerful, wins every single lane, does like 700 damage at level 1 with Trample. It's really dumb. Broodmother, I know I said that Beastmaster is the best Wraith Pact buyer in the game, but I don't know, man. Brood feels kind of unkillable when she gets Wraith Pact and Pipe. You go on her, she's running over some trees. She's got that extra web regen that she's getting. It's like, as if the hero wasn't already toxic enough. Now you can't kill the spiders either because they've just got all these like insane auras. People are also going for the web talents on Brood, which means she can control more of an area. And it's not like she just sits in one lane. She actually sits between two. And that's kind of what Dota is just sitting between two lanes. You don't normally take 3 lanes other than in the laning stage. So Brood is a hero that can actually be active now, which was not the case for many patches on Brood. So she's very powerful right now. And last but not least, Visage. He loves Wraith Pact because if you try to kill it, he bird stuns you, and then bird stuns you, and then it resummons, and then bird stuns you, and then bird stuns you. And that whole time, he soul summoned you, as I can't pronounce words, 3 times. Yeah, it's a sad scene. It's a sad scene. Visage is very annoying to deal with. And hey, what if you just go on him? What if you just kill him? Make sure he can't get off his Wraith Pact, you know? He fucking stone forms, boys. He stone forms, and he can't die. Oh, what the hell? What's with that? He's a good hero. He's a good hero. Even if it wasn't for Wraith Pact, I think the Stone Form Aghanim Shard is just a powerful one. His Aghanim Scepter is amazing. It turns him into essentially a backline assassin. I mean, it makes him fly. For God's sakes, it could just be Invis, and it would probably be good, but a lot more boring. Yeah, Visage is powerful. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you to everybody for watching. Yeah, see ya.